Where did we leave off with from last time? It was just one concept. Starts with the letter D. It is diffusion. And an example that we gave for or about diffusion would be what? Okay, so why did we pick blood gases? Because when you think of that, think of a gas in general, not the same type that you pull up to a pump and put into your tank for fuel. Of course, that's not the type of gas we are referring to. Maybe going all the way back to even, let's say, earth science. What's the most common gas that you find in the Earth's atmosphere? Nitrogen. That's right. Well, why don't we breathe nitrogen? I mean, if it's that common, why do we breathe oxygen, do you think? What happens when you look at periodic table? What do you notice about nitrogen as opposed to oxygen? They're right next to one another. Other than just telling you no, why is nitrogen on the left and oxygen a little further to the right? You got to look inside each element's box, and what might you notice? True, but it's not the atomic number. Well, that's true too. What's heavier? Oxygen's heavier, nitrogen. So if that is the case, if a gas is lighter, what do we know about a helium balloon once you may mistakenly let that go? It starts to float away. Okay? So if one gas is lighter than another, it's going to diffuse more readily, but in this case it's inside of a closed container, so up, and away it goes. Okay? So diffusion can work in a similar manner, whether it's liquids or gases. I'll save you a few footsteps. Okay? And so the reason we mention liquids is, I don't know, does anyone still maybe drink the orange juice product Tang, for instance? That's a powder. Kool-Aid's another. Then you can also buy them in a frozen concentrate, correct? So you can alter how, let's say, the taste of that substance, whether it's a frozen concentrate or whether it's a powder you mix together. The more powder you add to the water, probably got to stir a little more because you need to get that to dissolve, to diffuse with these solid crystals with that of the water. But getting back to gases, they're really, really tiny, so they can go in and out of your cells very easily. So that's why a good example to use for diffusion is gases. Okay, and the second type, then, I don't think we haven't quite made it that far, but the four types that you're going to want to be responsible for knowing is diffusion's one, and we probably begin with osmosis, if not before the end of the hour. But this is where we had left off with last time, correct? So what has to exist inside your lungs when we talked about this this exchange of blood gases? What has to exist for there to be a movement of materials into and out of your bloodstream? Yes? Okay. Yep, you're welcome. Okay, so make sure you're careful moving your foot. You've got a flash drive on the floor. I don't want to see that get busted. Okay. All right, so with that, okay, so concentration gradient on this hand, what we're talking about is movements, as you can see, from an area of high concentration to that of lower concentration until there gets to be an equalization, or when it reaches equilibrium, when you got the same concentration in and out, okay? So we want to associate that with the blood gases, okay? And it's very easy for blood gases to diffuse across this cell membrane. And when we talk about diffusion, it does not require any energy, okay? There are 4 types, okay? And which one requires energy? You had answered it last time. Take a guess. Did you happen to just guess, or you see it on the paper? How'd you come up with active transport? That's right. Oh, okay. Well, what are the other 2? Without looking. Well, we haven't discussed them yet, so we'll be fair in that regards. Okay, so diffusion, blood gases, very tiny molecules. The only difference between diffusion and osmosis then is one is water, okay? And with that, that has to deal with salt concentrations inside your body. Would be a good example of osmosis then. See, we're missing a T there. There used to be a saying that, I don't know, perhaps you've heard of it before. If you're on or stranded on an island, water is probably one of your biggest necessities that you need, okay? But there again, if you're in one of the 7 seas or that of on one of the oceans, you've got all the water that you need. What's the problem with that? There's salt in there, okay? So it would be a little bit different if you were located next to a river or with that of a lake where there's a freshwater inland sea. Well, then you wouldn't have a problem. But with that salt, what that's going to do, okay, is create what we'll call a hypertonic solution. When the solute molecules or salt is higher on the outside of the cell, water is going to try to equalize that. So it's going to start pulling water out of the cell. You begin to become dehydrated, and then you may become hallucinating, and all of a sudden we have this individual saying, Aaron Rodgers is the best. Aaron Rodgers is awesome. No comment? Throw me a bone here. Just don't want to. See, I thought we were a big Minnesota fan. Okay? All right. So, anyone else agree? Aaron Rodgers is the best. No? Okay? Now that's concentration right there. maybe were upset about something. Did Mrs. Pac-Man run off with a different Pac-Man, or no? Okay. No, I said you might find yourself on a desert island and you got all this water, you start drinking it, and then all of a sudden you're saying Aaron Rodgers is the best. The moment that happens, what might we think? There might be something wrong with this guy. Why is that? Would you be hallucinating then? But isn't Aaron Rodgers the best, though? No? Okay, I don't know. Quite a great athlete. I think one aspect to keep in mind, it doesn't matter whether it's hockey, basketball, baseball, football. More often than not, when you see these guys' pictures on trading cards, or when they go through the lineup, like on Sunday night football, Monday night football, or what have you, you see these athletes that actually smile. Because once you've reached that level, these guys are pretty nice. Whether it's a professional athlete for football, baseball, basketball, hockey, or what have you. I mean, with a lot of these. Does anyone know the significance of 1 year ago and J.J. Watt? Did what? No, as far as serving his community. That's what I mean. Not only that, but I believe, I can't remember, he paid for maybe funeral costs for many of the victims in school shootings, I believe. But yes, donated a lot of money for the city of Houston to get back on its feet, and did lots of recovery programs for that area. So now you might be thinking, once we get closer to this weekend, if you're following the news or the weather pattern, okay, now we're going to pass it off to this NFL team that's going to serve its community. And who might that be? Too far south. Yeah, Carolina. I don't know. Are they in Charlotte, South Carolina? Does that sound right? City of Charlotte? Okay. So with that, the main idea is your body regulates how much salt it has inside its body because of osmosis. And should that be placed out of balance, you're going to have to bring in more of just a pure water solution to get this back to an isotonic state then. Okay? All right, so we move on from diffusion, simple molecules like blood gases, osmosis, water, and then we move on to larger molecules like proteins, okay? And there's specific gatekeepers or carrier proteins inside the molecule that open the gates inside the cell membrane. Okay, come on through here. Glucose or sugar, proteins. We don't have to worry about hormones because those will pass through very easily. Because I guarantee you, the next time you see this on an evaluation, you need to be able to describe the 4 types of movements across the cell membrane. We've discussed 2 of them in relative detail, diffusion and osmosis. Now, facilitated diffusion. Now, one thing to note is the first three do not require energy. It's the fourth one that does. Does everyone have this information that wants it? Okay. And you'll notice that this chapter is quite short. We will continue. I have a video to start here shortly. It'll take not the rest of the hour, but a better part of the rest of the hour. And then we'll continue with this again on Thursday or tomorrow. You may have started those vocab terms yesterday. If you did not, don't worry about it. We'll have them due, I don't know, we'll say probably the 19th, something to that effect. Okay? That's a week from today. So if you got it done, you don't have to worry about it. If you haven't started it yet, you've got time.